What's up, Warriors fans, and welcome to Warriors Way with your host, with your boy. And if I'm not your boy yet, I'm going to be your boy soon, Alan Styles. Look, this is a post-game show for the fans, by a fan. I'm not here to necessarily break down everything in an extremely detailed way. I played basketball until freshman year, so I'm not claiming to know everything about the game. All I know is what I watch, and I've been watching the Warriors for a very long time. And I thought, why not give Dub Nation an outlet to allow them to get out their happiness when we win and their frustrations when we lose, as we did today. It wasn't great. 104 to 95. The Pacers just hung in there. The Warriors tried to pull away, but it never really happened. Or the Warriors tried to pull away. It never really happened. But at the end of the day, man, when you play a lot of close games, you're not going to win them all. You're just not going to win them all. That's not how it works. And the Warriors have been playing with fire a little bit up to this point, going down, 20 to the Clippers, but the Clippers love to blow games, so that wasn't an issue. We're able to come back, but even in that moment, wasn't too convinced at the very beginning. Then they come out against the Raptors, and Draymond was celebrating like that shot wasn't close by Pascal Siakam. It was very close. It was very close, and it could have easily went in. And now you're looking at who knows how they show up in that game, but Steph not putting up the points he needs to put up, that's always going to be an issue. You can get away with it for a little bit, but you're not going to get away with it forever, and that's going to be a situation that the Warriors are going to have to work through. Look, they might be able to beat the Bulls and the Pistons of the world when that happens, or the Kings, but you don't play them every day. And when you don't play them every day, that's a problem. The Pacers, what are they? I don't know, a 4, maybe a 5. Similar to the Warriors, anywhere between a 3 and a 5 or 6 seed in the East. That's pretty solid. I know for a long time everybody wanted to talk down about the Eastern Conference compared to the Western Conference, but I think both conferences have their cream of the crop. And I think at this point, when you talk about who's below their cream of the crop, it's not that different. I don't think it's that different at this point in time. So my star of the game is Miles Turner, 22 points, 11 rebounds. He was doing his best Steph Curry impression. I think he was 3 for 5 on three-pointers. I don't know if that's what he finished at, but he was at that at one point. And his ball almost hit the top of the arena. It was ridiculous, the arc that he gets on it, but if it goes in, it goes in. Anyone who's ever hooped with me knows I have no room to talk on how pretty or not pretty jump shots look. So what I'm basically going to do, this is a test run for anybody who is listening right now. That's because I gave you the link, because I love you. Thanks for tuning in. We're really launching this thing on MLK Day for Warriors Lakers, which hopefully there's a good enough game to kind of break down. But how we're going to do this is I'm just going to talk about what I saw quarter through quarter. Then I'm going to open up the phone lines, and feel free to throw it in the YouTube chat. And if you haven't clicked that subscribe, please do. But feel free to hop in the YouTube chat if you have a question, or if you just want to comment. And like I said, you see my number up there right now. I'm probably going to have to change this once this thing blows up, because it will. Because I've been told not to have your personal cell phone number up on YouTube. I don't know. I don't know why that would be an issue, but let's go ahead and get to it. Okay, so what I saw from the Warriors to start in the first quarter: Steph didn't get a shot until the 4-minute mark, but he looked fresh. He looked absolutely fresh. I'm sure he's staying safe. I'm sure a barber came to their beautiful house and wherever they're living now and chopped him up, but he was looking good to go. Unfortunately, he couldn't get going, and this is another thing that's going to happen throughout the course of the season. The double teams, they're gonna make him tired. They would make anybody tired. I get tired just looking at him, but they're going to make him tired. He's running around. He can't get open. Luckily for him, if the Warriors had won, I'd probably make the star of the game Kelly Oubre, because he had the Nelly Band-Aid going. He was hitting threes early on in the game. He got his rhythm going by pump faking, getting to the basket, and then once he had his rhythm, he was able to take shots with confidence, and you see a couple go in, and shooters shoot. He's a very confident guy anyway, so all he needs is about one or two to go in, and there's no issue. There's no issue there. But Steph couldn't get going. They started clunky. Oubre found his rhythm. Great defense or bad shooting. Kalena and Fitz were talking about how great the defense was, but I couldn't tell if it was great defense or the Pacers were just missing shots. And it seemed a little bit, at the very least, like it was both. Because as you move forward, the second unit was obviously missing Pascal. He's out with health, I think COVID adjacent, if you will. You get to the second quarter. Damian Lee flurry. He had multiple floaters, which looked great. I think, I saw something on Twitter about try talking about Damian Lee and not bringing up his brother-in-law or his wife. And I'm going to try to do that right now. Damian Lee had a great game. I don't know who he's married to or who his brother-in-law is, but Damian Lee as a player on the Warriors by himself had a great game. And he's the type of guy, everybody that has played a sport knows that type of guy that it's not that you don't believe in him or think that he can't perform, but when he does perform really well, it just gets everybody going. And that's basically what Damian Lee brings to the Warriors. When he gets going, it really gets them turned up and really gets them excited to go about their business. But Wiggins had a great game, outstanding defense. He's been playing great defense. Great defense. His threes have been falling. I've been on the record saying, at least at that point in time, he was much better at the off the dribble threes. His catch and shoot threes weren't there yet. And the reason I identify with that is because that's how I am. Sometimes you get a better rhythm off the dribble as opposed to catching and shooting it, because that's just how you are. And it seemed earlier in the season, Wiggins needed that dribble. Today, he got into it and he was catching some catch and shoot threes. I still think he's more comfortable off the dribble, but sometimes he's taking some Kobe-esque shots from three-point land or Curry-esque shots from three-point land. And that's not what we really need you to do, bruh. If they're going to hit, I feel you, but you can't just be throwing them up all the time. Going back to the first quarter, that's what I saw early. The third quarter might have been one of the worst quarters of basketball I think I have ever seen. Honestly, I think I saw 5 consecutive turnovers in a row. They tried to hand it off, do the little hand underpass to Wiseman. At least, I saw it at least 3 times. And I think it was Turner knocked it down every single time. He just knocked it out of bounds. Eventually, they got their lobs going. And they had the lobs going. I get it. You want to switch it up. But those underpasses don't work. They're just sitting and they're just waiting. And right after, I think the third one happened, whenever that next timeout was, Steve Kerr brought them in and was like, nobody do that again. If anyone does that again, you're sitting. The next play, I think, was Draymond lob to Wiseman. And unfortunately, speaking about Wiseman, the rookie foul troubles, they continue. And the reason I say rookie foul troubles is because I don't necessarily think he's in that type of trouble if he's not a rookie. Some of these calls that we're seeing are a little ticky-tack. Some of these calls that we're seeing, you wouldn't see the veterans get. And that's an issue for me. That's not really fair, in my opinion. But that's just the reality of the game. You got to, pay your dues and things like that. I don't know how many moving screens the Warriors get called for per game, but I know it's a lot, and I know it has to be close to the top of the league. It seems that it happens all all the time. And most of the time it's Kevon Looney. This time, I don't even know if it was him today. So I don't know what they have to do there. It reminds me of, for any Giants fans that are also listening, San Francisco Giants, the catcher interference calls. There were so many and they just seem avoidable. And it's almost as if teams know that the Warriors are known for it, and there's a little exaggeration. We saw Patrick Beverley fall on the ground. That's what he does. I'm not necessarily talking about that, but it seems like teams are privy to, back in the day with Bogut and Zaza Pachulia, the Warriors used to be called the Golden State moving screens or something they joked the Warriors about all the time. That's what seems to be happening, and the refs are falling for it, in my opinion. I don't think I see a lot of the same screens happening with other teams, and they're not getting called. So I don't know what has to happen there. I don't know if you just have to, if the Warriors really just are bad, and from the angle that we're seeing, it's not showing us how bad they are, or if they're getting a bit of a raw deal. We'll see how that progresses throughout the rest of the season. So along with the third quarter, still hanging on. Brogdon went off. Brogdon was close to being my star of the game. The guy is just a baller. I can see why the Bucks fans were so mad about losing him. And he's a guy that if you follow basketball, you know his name and you know he can ball. I believe, didn't he come out of Virginia or something like that? I think he came out of Virginia, my home state. So shout out Virginia. He can move, man. He's shifty. I think when you think of the word shifty, that's Malcolm Brogdon. He gets open, he moves around, he slips around, he has explosiveness. I think he torched Kelly Oubre, who's a good defender, right to the lane, which is something that you just don't typically see, especially with Kelly Oubre. And Brogdon was rolling. He got into a rhythm. That was a problem. And the turnovers, again, there were a couple times during that weird stretch when there were a ton of turnovers that the Warriors, let's not talk about the Pacers turnovers because who cares? But the Warriors were not able to capitalize when they got the turnovers from the Pacers because they turned it back over. You say, there you go. They're playing hot potato for a good 3-5 minutes. It's ridiculous. It was ridiculous. You come away with nothing. Then you get into the fourth quarter and the second unit again. No Pascal. It's understandable. They just couldn't get it going. They couldn't get it going to save their life. Wanamaker for me, look, I like Wanamaker. Hard-nosed guy, Philly guy, has to go to sorry, I just got a Slack. I don't know who Slacks at 10:30, but has to go to Europe for a couple years. I think it was 7, not even a couple. Finally gets his chance in the NBA. He plays for the Celtics last year. He's a well-versed guy in this. He reminds me of myself a little bit when it comes to forcing shots. He tends to force these drives, and he hasn't really been finishing, but he does enough to stay in the lineup, and he does control that second unit, and he does work with other players, on the team well. For me, it's just an indictment on Jordan Poole and what is going on with him. The progression has just regressed. The progression is a regression. He can't even get on the floor. And when you talk about some of the swings and misses of this regime, not to get too far into the ownership and management, we love Bob Myers and all of that good stuff, but Jordan Poole is just sitting there, man, and I think he's gathering dust on the bench. And I don't know what to do with that situation or what is going on. He got playing time in the preseason, but I guess that's why they call it the preseason. Pacers stayed composed. Warriors are a young team, and they felt good about what they were able to do against the Clippers and against the Raptors. But, the ball doesn't always roll your way, and Steph, wasn't who he typically is against the Raptors. You were able to sneak out of there. You're not going to continue to be able to do that over and over again. That's just not how this thing is going to work. Also, trash free throws. Garbage, garbage, garbage. Okay, I played in a co-ed basketball league with my now fiance, then girlfriend. And one of the guys who's, in this chat right now was on my co-ed basketball team. I'm not very good at free throws. I know that they're tough, because I'm sitting there and everybody's looking and I can't get... Sometimes I wanted to shoot off the dribble from a free throw, which I would assume would be frowned upon. But I get it, but I'm not getting paid millions of dollars. As my father always said and has said and will probably continue to say, it's a free throw. You got to make the free throw. And here's the thing. The Pacers shot 68% from free throw. That's bad. That's bad. The Warriors shot 63. And I hate to put this on Steph, but you are the catalyst and simply missing. And it never happens. It's, if this is a once in a blue moon, and it is, because we know Steph, he leads the league every year. But for this game specifically, I believe that's the trend that happened. Once someone does something, you assume other things are okay. I'll put it to you like this. We've been quarantined for a very long time. I've done more inside workouts than I ever thought I would ever do. I've done more burpees than I ever thought I would ever do. When I'm working out by myself, you go, you get tired, you stop. When you're working out with a partner, me working out typically with my fiance, I won't stop, or most of the time I won't stop until I see her take a break, because that means that that's okay. And my mentality changes. So when the team sees Steph miss a shot, or Steph miss a free throw in particular, you're talking about free throws, that tells the rest of the team that's okay, which is a crazy thing to say. And I know I'm putting too much on Steph, but it does snap in the back of your mind that, hey, well, Steph missed one. And next thing you know, the Pacers shoot 68 and the Warriors shoot 63. 63%. Now, I hate to do this. I don't think it would make that. Okay, so the Warriors lost by 9. And they missed 8 free throws. So that's a 1-point difference, but you make them throughout the course of the game. Maybe this thing turns out a little differently. We never know. Those are my main takeaways from the game, man. It was clunky from start to finish. Wiggins has really found a groove, and Oubre has found a groove. I hate to say, we wasted a good Oubre performance, but when you're getting the money he's paying, I believe it's 80 mil or something like that, you have to show up the next day. So I'm not going to sit here and say, dang it, we missed an Oubre performance. That's what you do for Damian Lee. That's what you do for Eric Paschall. That's what you do for the bench guys. Kelly Oubre is a starter. Andrew Wiggins is a starter. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh man, we wasted a great performance when, sure, it was a decent performance, but let me see here. Okay, Oubre had 17. Oubre had 17. Wiggins had 22. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh my gosh, we wasted a great Oubre performance because he dropped 17 points. Like, if that's our bar, Warriors, if they do make the playoffs, are going to get bounced quick. We got a message coming through. We got a couple. Jordan Poole is boo-boo. I agree. Go Clippers. I don't know what that's all about. We just smoked you. Is there anyone on the Warriors you actually trust to consistently hit open shots, or do we just have to wait until Clay's back before Steph gets to ditch the double team? That's a great question. And the answer would be it's got to be by committee. So the answer, I think, in a way, is yes and no. Oubre, we're going to need him to hit shots. We're going to need him to hit open shots. We don't need you. I think earlier in the game, he tried a in the corner, off the dribble 3 on Miles Turner, the biggest dude on the Pacers, and clearly clanked it. We don't need that. Don't forget we have the DPE, the player exception. The disabled player exception, I think, is the name. So the Warriors are going to get someone else. I think how aggressive they are to get someone else is going to be determined on how well they are doing. I think I'm not really too keen on how much money gets spent here or there. All I know is with the DPE, they're able to spend a little bit more money. The name that keeps being thrown around is PJ Tucker, and that is the 3-point god from the corner, which would be amazing. So but he doesn't create, right? I don't think Eric Gordon is really on the table like that, but Eric Gordon is a guy who I think could be someone that we can trust to hit those shots. But if you're asking me, Patrick, about who is currently on the Warriors that would be able to do that, I don't see anyone on that team. And I don't want to get too negative here. And I know Draymond has done a ton, and we've spent a lot of time praising Draymond about being able to help the offense and make such an impact on the game without scoring very many points at all, and how numbers do lie and things like that. Let me tell you where numbers don't lie. Numbers don't lie in the playoffs. And I know nobody really expects the Warriors to win the whole thing. I don't really either. But you gotta be a threat. You gotta be a threat. I think, what did Draymond have today? 7 points. I think he might have hit a 3. That sounds right to me. But that's just not enough. Damian Lee, 12 points. We love that. There wasn't much from the bench. I mean, how many? I saw Wanamaker miss at least 2 layups. At least 2 layups. Wiseman, 8 points. He had the foul trouble. That's not going to last. But Wiggins, you're good. 22. That's where you're going to have to live, bud. That's where you're going to have to live, my guy. And Steph, I said this at the beginning of the year. I ran some numbers about the top to bottom, how the Warriors get to the league average. And the league average per game since 2018 has been about 111 to 112. So let's call it 112. At their peak, when Steph scores, I think I had Steph scoring 30 a night, 25 to 30 a night. Wiggins and Oubre combining for about 45-ish. Wiseman giving you 10 to 15. I didn't even put Draymond on that. I just said bench. Whatever to get, and it got the Warriors to about 110 on a good night. This would represent an okay night where Steph didn't do as much as he needed to do, but you did get what you need from Wiggins. Not as much as you needed from Oubre, not as much as you needed from Wiseman, and not as much as you needed from the bench. And if you look, that's 95 points. 95 points, the average is 112. Even though Warriors got great defense, but 95 points is not going to cut it. It's not. Okay. Well, that felt great. That felt awesome. I'm not going to lie, getting this whole thing going. But now it's time to hear from y'all, the audience. Look, this is the only opportunity. Warriors, the Bay Area, we have a great media setting where everybody can, we have our go-tos. I don't need to name them. I don't even know if I'm allowed to name them. We have our go-tos that we go to for media outlets. This is something different. This is something new. This is for the late night. Make a late night a great night. I'm opening the phone lines. You see the phone number right there. Give me a call. And let's hear what you have to say about the Warriors. So as we wait for our first call, let's go through some other numbers here. And by the way, whoever calls first, if it's clunky, hang with me. Let's just pretend it's the first or third quarter from the Warriors. We got a question here. Olivia DB, do you think Jeremy Lin would be a contributor if they brought him up? Oh, man. I mean, did he score? I remember them joking about him on the Raptors when they had Jeremy Lin highlights as far as what he did when they won the championship. and he couldn't get on the court, but that's neither here nor there. I haven't really seen him play too much. He's been hanging around. You know, he was signed and then he's gone and then he's signed again. I haven't seen him play too much, but from what I remember, Linsanity is far gone. We don't need him to be Linsanity, but if he still has 70% of that playmaking ability, I do believe that he would be able to help, simply because Damian Lee dropping 12 points, that's basically the ceiling. What are you expecting? And that's not a knock on Damian Lee. That's just what he brings to the table. So I don't know what more you expect from him. We're missing double-digit points with Pascal. So if we want to play that game, you make 5 free throws, you make 5 more free throws, and you get Pascal going, you get Pascal in the game. In theory, the Warriors win. In theory. Now, obviously, a lot changes there. Maybe some of the other guys don't produce the same way. But in theory, you should be able to win that game if Pascal plays. But Jeremy Lin, I think, would be a good addition, because why not? We have guys on this roster that can't see the floor. That's the bottom line. And that's a problem. Every team has it, but it's not a we had it when we had KD and Clay, but it didn't matter. It matters now because every possession matters. Every game matters. Every rotation matters. So when you just have guys like Alan Smailagic that can't get on the court and Jordan Poole that can't get on the court, yeah, give me Jeremy Lin, because he actually has played in the NBA and has played at a high level. So I would take Jeremy Lin at this point, because what you're getting from Damian Lee is like prime Damian Lee. That's like what we love to see. That what you're getting from Pascal is what you're going to get from him for the rest of, at least for the rest of the season. He's going to continue to progress. So those guys are solid. The rest of the bench, Kent Bazemore, we don't know. He's a fiery guy. I like him. He kind of reminds me of myself. Fiery guy. He's all over the place, but you can only count on him for so much. Like I said, Wanamaker. And look, what are we on? Are we even at game 10 yet? We're not even at game 10 yet, but it seems like, you got the Michael Mulder threes every now and then. It seems like there's just not enough. There's not enough. And look, you do the math right now. If Wiggins, Curry, and Oubre score 20 a night, that's 60 points. You need to get to 112. That's the average. So you need to get to 112. Where are you going to find the rest of those points? Wiseman gives you 10. You're up to 70. Damian Lee gives you 10. You're up to 80. And I don't think you can count on that a night. Now you're at 80. So you're missing 20. I'm terrible at math. You're missing, I believe, 32 points. You need to find 32 points somewhere. And Wiseman's going to knock some of that off. Wiseman is going to knock it down to about probably 25 points. You still need to find 25 points on this bench. And you're not going to find that a night. And unless your defense is going to be, we're talking about top 10. If you're not going to be able to get to 112, your defense better be top 10. And it probably needs to be top 5. So that's what I think the Warriors are dealing with right now. And it's tough. It's tough to watch sometimes. And look, the reason I'm being tough on the Warriors is not because they lost this game. It's because they easily could have lost the last game, in which they played really well against, I don't know, are the Pacers better than the Raptors? I thought the Raptors were better than the Pacers, but it seems like they're both in that middle tier. Again, like I spoke about, you got the top tiers, then you got pretty much nothing else. But it's not going to cut it, and we're really going to, and quietly, not really quietly because everyone's talking about the LeBron, the Lakers are rolling. The Lakers are rolling. It seems like every time I look up, they're blowing a team out. And Christmas is going to be something else. But even before we get to Christmas, we have the Nuggets on Thursday, back-to-back with, I believe, the Nuggets on Thursday and the Suns on Friday, the upstart Suns on Friday. So we've been talking about this stretch for a while. How are they gonna handle it? But please keep the questions rolling in. The YouTube chat is popping. That's what I love to see. First show, dry run. Thank you guys for tuning in to the Warriors Way, hosted by your boy Alan Stiles, your boy. Call the number 925-876-5730. Call in. We want our first caller because I don't want to have to do the first caller on MLK Day when I actually launch. It would be nice to get a dry run in. So please, if you're up, I know nobody has to go into the office unless you're an essential worker. Shout out to the essential workers. Stay home, stay safe. But please continue to hit me up and call in. Oh, we got something. Kayla Cook, looking at the upcoming schedule, what are some must-win games in your eyes? Well, I don't think any of the games coming up are must-win because I think we're still getting the legs under us, and I think that a lot is going to we're gonna find out a lot in these next 3 games. And I know we keep saying that we're gonna find out a lot after this first game. We're gonna find out a lot after this next game. That's just how this season ends, or is. It's not about championship or bust, or every game we're expected to win. Every game we're trying to figure out who's going to step up and who's going to be that person that's going to make sure the Warriors get to the playoffs. Because Steph, as much as Steph is going to wear it if the Warriors don't get to the playoffs, and trust me, he will wear it, somebody else needs to show up and somebody else needs to be that person to say, hey, don't worry, homie, I got you. And if that somebody else is a combination of Wiggins and Oubre, great. I think that's the most obvious answer. But what if it's not? And what if it has to come from somewhere else? So when I look at the upcoming schedule for the Warriors, and I'll do that right now. Like I said, I know they have the Suns and the Nuggets, and then they have the Nuggets, and then the Suns, and then the Lakers, and then the Spurs, and then the upstart Knicks. Shout out the Knicks. If anybody listening, you probably know why I'm shouting them out. But yeah, Nuggets. Obviously, you want to know where you're at as far as the Western Conference, because that's who you're going up against, and that's who. And again, even though the season has just started in a way, we're getting into it now. It's going to matter when it comes to seeding and head-to-heads and things like that. Jose, shout out the Knicks. I know we got you on January 21st I almost said Oracle, at the Chase Center. So I know you'll be turning into that post game, and I'm going to be juiced for that as well. The Warriors got Nuggets, Suns, Lakers, Spurs. I look at that right there, and I look at, then they got the Knicks, and then they got the Jazz. So those 6 games right there, you got to come out, and you got to take, I would like to see 3-3. I would like to see 3-3, but again, you can't continue to go 500 and expect to make the playoffs. So I really would like to see 4-2, but I will be okay with 3-3. Oh, we got our first caller. Give me 1 second. What's up? What's your name? Where you calling from? Welcome to the Warriors Way.
Hey, Alan. This is Levi in San Diego, California. How's it going?
Sunny San Diego. I love San Diego. Anchorman, right?
Whale's vagina. Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah, well, okay. Yeah, that too.
So, I was listening to your broadcast. It's a great broadcast, by the way. I'm excited to see more content from you guys. You got me thinking about a couple games back, where the Warriors played a team that's near and dear to my heart, a team that used to be here in San Diego, The Los Angeles Clippers, or the LA Clippers.
When were they in San Diego, by the way? I don't know if I remember that.
They were in Buffalo, then San Diego, then LA.
So you're a real you were before Lob City.
Please, I hopped on board around the Lamar Odom days.
Okay.
And it's been a lot of many years of suffering with some minimal highlights, but things are looking better. My point that I wanted to get to here is, what was it about that win against the Clippers a few games ago that really opened up the Warriors? Because they look like a different team. And I just wanted to know if you thought that that was a really great game for the Warriors, a great win for the Warriors, or more of a bad loss for the Clippers. I just, as an objective NBA fan, obviously you're biased, but as objective as you can be, was that a good win for the Clippers or a bad loss? Or rather, a good win for the Warriors or a bad loss for the Clippers?
It's hard for me to ever look at a 20-point lead being blown and say that was a good win in a way. And that's not to take anything away from the Warriors, but it's just more of an indictment on the Clippers. And I think the reason we can't look at it objectively is simply because of the playoffs last year. If the Clippers, if they just lose to the Lakers in, I don't know, 6-7 games next year or last year, let's say they get to the conference finals and they just lose to the Lakers and they were a good team, it just didn't work out. That's one thing. But the way they lost to the no, not the Mavericks, they lost to the Nuggets, that is why it seems to, and not to make you upset, I know you're a Clipper fan, it seems to be a little on brand for the Warriors for the Clippers, and that seems to be the problem. So I hate to be that guy and say both, but if you made me choose, I would say it's more of a bad loss for the Clippers. Because for the Warriors, it's one of those games where Steph got going, and when you let Steph get going, it's always, Olivia, we're working on the volume. Hold on. Tell me if it's any better now. Is it better now? Or is it the same? I'm sure she's typing.
Well, hey, I really appreciate the objective response here because, as much as I hate to say it, it is a little bit on brand for the Clippers right now, and, that's what it is. At the same time, you got to give credit where it's due, and the Warriors, when Steph is rolling, he just opens everything up. Obviously, he's really a top 5 player when he's in his bag. There's not much teams can do. They can throw 2 or 3 people at him, but that only works, so much of the time. There's going to be times where he has his Curry flurry, right?
Yeah, I mean, the Curry flurry is always gonna be a thing, and I just think it's hard for me to not look at the Clippers when literally you have one person to stop. You have one person to stop, and that's Steph. Okay, if Damian Lee beats you, that's one thing, but all you need to do is stop Steph, and they weren't able to do that. Easier said than done, and we've seen those crazy pictures. We've seen those crazy pictures throughout the beginning of this season with 4 or 5 guys chasing Steph around. That's how it's going to be all year for Steph. And how the Clippers were able to let that slip out of their hands, it was a bad look. I can't lie. But if you're making me choose, I would say it was more of a bad loss for the Clippers than a good one for the Warriors. But from the Warriors' standpoint, just being a young, hungry team, it was nice to see them close it out. I just think, again, going back to this Pacer game, really, to me, the biggest thing, taking it back to the Warriors, the biggest thing was the fact that they didn't come out and lay an egg against the Raptors. That would have been a game, you come off an emotional comeback victory where Steph goes off against the Clippers. It would have been easy to just, strap them up and walk out there and, be whatever about it. And that's not what they did. They almost blew a lead themselves. But it was good to see them come out hot and come out raring to go. They're playing with a lot of energy. But again, you have to make shots and you have to not turn the ball over. And they couldn't do either of those things today. But yeah, no, I appreciate you for calling in, Levi. We're gonna work on this audio. I thought it was low before, but we're figuring all this out.
Well, hey, it was sounding good. It was sounding okay to me, and
well, you're on the call. You're on the call.
Hey, I'll keep listening. I'll continue to tune in as we progress here through the season, and looking forward to more content. Take care.
All right, take care of yourself, Levi. First caller. No first caller jitters on either side. Nothing from me. First caller, we're working through things. Olivia, I want to thank you for calling that out. I'm trying to figure out, how to turn it up, but we'll get it figured out. I might be calling you, Olivia, to see how make sure this volume thing is figured out. But yeah, if anybody else has anything, the chat is open. If you don't feel like calling in, the call lines are still open, wide open, extremely wide open. Let me see here. I'm also wondering. Yeah, I mean, some of the other upcoming games, going back to another question we had. Celtics in early February. There's just not a lot of giveaway games. I mean, going back to what Kayla Cook's question was, you go back to back Timberwolves twice, on that Monday the 25th and then on Wednesday the 27th. Those would be games you have to win those games. So if I'm saying to go 500 in those next 6 against those decent teams, if you do go 500, you have to sweep the Timberwolves. Like teams like that, you have to sweep. They go back east again. Again, looking at a lot of these Hornets, upstart Hornets with LaMelo. There's not a lot of teams that are awful. That's why when you play them, and that's no disrespect to the Timberwolves, that's why when you play them, you need to win. You need to win. But looking forward to the Nuggets game, I have a couple friends that love the Nuggets, so this is going to be great. I'm not completely positive that I will go live that game. I'm trying to figure that out now. I will let everybody know if that happens, but I'm not completely positive. I will be going live for the Suns, after the Suns, post-game Suns. So shout out anybody that can come through. Keep on working these kinks through. Again, I'm an open book. Let me know whatever you like, whatever you didn't like. We're working this thing out. I do feel really good about it. I do feel like it's filling a void, and I'm excited to see where it goes. I'm going to give a 10-second runoff for any last calls or... Oh, Levi, big friend of the show. There's more parity in the league this year, and that definitely. I don't see. There's just not a lot of, like I said, there's just not a lot of throwaway teams. There's just not a lot of teams, and that sounds so bad because it is the NBA. But you look at the team like the Cavs. I'm not saying you gotta, play the best game you've ever played, but you can't just roll the ball out there. Even the Magic, a lot of these teams, the Pistons, you kind of can. But wasn't it the Pistons that the Warriors needed that game winner against? The Damian Lee game winner, was that the Pistons or the Bulls? One of those two teams, and they're both not good. So that just goes to show you can't sleep on anybody. But it's exciting times. I think it is interesting. I think it's an interesting year to do something like this because I don't know how much we'd have to dive into when the Warriors had Kevin Durant and when Klay Thompson was healthy, because they were just expected to win every game. Even before KD came, this is the first time, and then last year they were just awful. So this is the first time in a while the Warriors have just been extremely interesting. whether it's interesting in a good way or bad way. It's a roller coaster and very similar to, now I'm not comparing the Warriors to 2020, but you never know what you're going to get, and we don't know what we're going to get going into 2021. So it's something that matches where we are in life and where the Warriors are as a basketball team. There's some things that are really, some moments that are really great and some moments that are not so great. So we're going to see how all of that progresses as we move forward throughout the course of the season and honestly throughout the course of the year. But I want to thank everyone for tuning in. It was very exciting to do this. I actually exceeded, I think, the amount of people that I thought would be on here just to start. So thank you guys for tuning in to the Warriors Way with your boy, Alan Stiles. I'm your host. We're going to be doing this as much as I can now that you're subscribed, because I know that you're subscribed, because I love my subscribers. You should get notifications whenever I get live, and we're going to keep this thing rolling. So until next time, be safe, be well, be wise. Peace.